PSL last night. Really dramatic evening, and it seems the title is headed one way.
Well, I can tell you now that they're going to be sitting in the studio taking calls from viewers, and it's going to be all about AmaZulu Sundowns and Pitso Mosimane. And I've said this all along, taking it on the chin, a 5-0 defeat against Bloemfontein Celtic at home, completely unexpected. And there Pitso came out. I thought he ran down the tunnel at the final whistle. I thought Pitso wasn't going to have the guts to speak. He did. He's honest. He said, look, this is my fault. I take responsibility. Fantastic game of football. And then elsewhere, you know, AmaZulu, for me. Okay, so we're now left with Kaiser Chiefs. They beat Polokwane and next Wednesday, and they've won the title. Nelly outside just said to me, 3 draws, they've won the title. They're now focusing on the MTN 8. I loved that line. But the big thing for me last night, having played some football in Durban in the 80s with Clive Barker and Neil Tovey and people like that, is that AmaZulu were 3 off the bottom, bang, like that. And for me, Stevie Barker left Amatux under a bit of a cloud, went to AmaZulu with no hope at all. Stevie Barker, Coach of the Year for me.
For me as well, I think the title race is pretty much done. For me, the relegation battle now is going to be the focus for the rest of the season. And to see AmaZulu come from where they were, where at the beginning of the year, we'd all written them off. And now to be third bottom, worrying times for Morocco Swallows, though.
I know how much AmaZulu means in Durban, or how much it meant in the 80s when I was there. There was Bushbucks and AmaZulu. I know how much AmaZulu means to people. But Morocco Swallows, when I was a kid, and you have a connection with them, if you did swai in the garage when I was a kid, everyone would know what you meant. These days, I do that and people think I'm a bird watcher. You know, they're getting crowds of 100. I think we said the average is about 412 for Morocco Swallows. And the PSL aren't telling us anything about crowds. They play in the heart of Soweto at a magnificent Dobsonville Stadium. I went there for the Amajimbos earlier this year. And yet they're not getting crowds. How can that be?
It's really sad. We'll just have a look at exactly pretty much how things stand at the moment. But it is really worrying times. Obviously, Free State Stars are there as well. They haven't played, obviously, because of the tragedy that befell them. But that relegation battle is going to go down to the wire, is it not?
Yeah. What's interesting now, I'm almost sure that Morocco Swallows are going to fall away, although they have got Craig Rossley gone in there, so perhaps he can lift them. It didn't look that way last night. You're beaten by Chipper United last night. Free State Stars got rid of a very intelligent manager called Bernard Samfleet from Belgium earlier in the season. Never really recovered from that. And I'm not really sure why that happened. Do you remember the days under Steve Compella when Free State Stars were the little stars of Bethlehem? It was a magnificent thing that Compella did. It's all gone. Chipper...
Grahamstown. Nice to see your hair. Your hair is back, I can see.
...24 years. So it seems like in this sphere that you generally serve for long terms.
But how long has this Hiato been in charge of CAF? How long has Irving Koza been in charge of the PSL? Longer than Sepp Blatter. But let's not go into that. Sepp Blatter is not going to go. Okay, he's 78 now. He'll be 79 on May the 29th when these elections happen. Sepp Blatter, to me, as a European journalist for 25 years, is the most corrupt and deeply difficult man I've ever dealt with. Jerome Falco is his acceptable face. During the World Cup in South Africa, Danny Jordan and Jerome Falco were like brothers. Fantastic bloke. But Sepp Blatter sits there with his son-in-law running their travel concern, and he sits there with all his friends around the world pulling in money, especially in the small federations. The Caribbean, the CONCACAF Federation, which isn't a great footballing area, somehow manages to sway the vote for World Cups. And let's face it, Qatar and Russia bought the next 2 World Cups. So all the people around those areas, the Asian countries, the Middle Eastern countries, and all the Eastern European and Russian countries, have to vote for Blatter. This isn't going to be an election, it's going to be a procession. And it wouldn't surprise me, Marky, if, World Cup thought he could then stand against Blatter. 2 weeks before, he was accused of bribery, banned for life from FIFA, and Sepp Blatter stood unopposed. There were still 17 countries out of the 209 that refused to vote. But in essence, I can't see Sepp Blatter at the age of 79 not having a 5th term, not continuing to run football. I think his quote was, I still have a mission because my mission is to be in football. I mean, how do you argue with that?
I guess
it's a very difficult one.
We'll still see him for a while. We've got another caller, that's Stembiso. Good morning, Stembiso.
Yeah.
Stembiso, good morning.
Yeah, Mojani.
I'm well, are you?
Fine. Ngingakufawula ngoSeblata. uSeblata semdala. Ngoba semdala nje kumele anikeze abanye ithuba nabanye abasenemqondo esemisha abazofuna izinto ezintsha kulokhu nokuyidini. Bese ngizophinda kumaZulu. AmaZulu nginganikeza ukhodi amaZulu uyena ongaba yikhodi of the month.
Thank you for that.
Aphumile empilweni. Asiyakhuphuka futhi awasaya estatini.
Thanks a lot, Stevie. So now he's obviously saying that Steve Barker deserves an accolade, and surely he does.
That's what I mean. I understand most of that. So we're in a position where obviously Clive Barker, big uncle, age 70, did so well with the Mpumalanga Black Aces in his first season. He did well with his 6 months at Wits, but I think he's slightly gone. So now the question is, how many dogs do we have? We've only got 1 dog left, and Steve Barker. When you meet him, he doesn't look like the kind of bloke that you get on well with. He's a tough-looking geezer, quite wide, quite short hair. And I remember meeting him at a shopping centre and chatting to him. My son's played for Amatux, my little boy, and he really set up Amatux well. And then they all fell out with each other. This university side, Pretoria, have gone from being just a student side to being a massive industry. Stevie Barker fell out with all that, leaves for AmaZulu in December with no hope. And look what he's done. You talk to the AmaZulu fans, and you can still get a reply to a Sutu anywhere you go in this country. I managed to get hold of the extra large AmaZulu jersey, the last one in the country. My wife managed to get it for me. And when I wear it, I get a great response. And I think that shows us AmaZulu deserve to survive, in my opinion.
I think he surely should be a contender for coach of the season based on that.
Yes.
Now, returning to our discussion, the other candidates, we know that Sepp Blatter, like even Stembiso said, he's going on in his years now. He's quite old. He's approaching 80. And we look at the other candidates, besides Luis Figo, because we know him as a footballer, who are the other guys? We don't really know them. They are administrators, but we know Figo because he's played the game. Who are the other guys really?
Right, well, for some reason, Michael van Praag, he was so angry that Holland didn't get the World Cup that Russia got, because Holland and Belgium had put in a great bid and they should really have won it. So Michael van Praag, his father Jaap, these are easy names for South Africans to get on with. Jaap was actually the head of Ajax. This guy here, Michael van Praag, his father Jaap was head of Ajax and the head of the Dutch FA. He was then head of the Dutch FA. So it's kind of a family business for the Van Praags. And he will stand, the way I see it, he will drop out because he's a bit boring. He's a bit of a Sepp Blatter. He's an administrator, not an ex-player. Michel Platini, as an ex-player, has grabbed UFA by the short and curlies. And CAF loves Michel Platini, by the way. So I think Van Praag will drop off. Michel Platini is the man waiting for the seat. Luis Figo, great ex-player, and everyone loves him, and he managed to cross the divide between Barcelona and Real Madrid. And then right on the outside, here's Luis Figo. I mean, this was a great player, right? I don't know if some of the youngsters might not remember. You and I know that Luis Figo was right up there with Iniesta, that kind of talent, Ronaldo, all that kind of stuff. Now we're looking at a situation where Figo's got to stand, right? I think. He may pull out at the last minute. It will ruin his reputation, but does he care? He's a great footballer, it won't matter. But then you've got Ali bin Al-Hussein, who I imagine is going to come up here in a minute. He's from Jordan. How do they affect football? With Qatar coming up, and we don't know whether to do it in the summer or the winter, this man, Jordan has always been this country that kind of sorts out people's disputes. They caught between kind of the Middle East and Europe and Asia, and that's his role at this point. And he's getting a surprising level of support, but I don't think he's going to win it. I think that, I wouldn't be surprised to just Figo against Blatter, Blatter wins, and then Platini, another great ex-player, head of UFA, says, next election I'm taking you on Set, and Set will stay for another 4 or 5 years, and then we'll finally get a footballer who understands the game, running the game.
And that's what a lot of people have said. Look at a guy like Michel Platini. He's pretty much, and for my mind, the only person that could have challenged Blatter for this election. Why has he not stood?
He didn't stand because, in my view, he did a deal with Sepp Blatter. You could have one more spell in charge, stand back, let me take it unopposed, because he will, Platini, get the vote of South America, he'll get the vote of Africa, because the Francophone nations love Michel Platini. Danny Jordan's told me that. And you're really in a situation where, you know, that's what's going to happen. Here's all your ex-presidents. See that guy number 6 there, Stanley Rouse? He was the Arsenal chairman, took over England. In 1966, he tried to get South Africa into the World Cup in 66. And he had a qualifying group of Kenya, India, and Australia. And we were going to play a black side against Kenya, an Asian Federation side against India, and a white side against... That's Stanley Rouse. So I'm not proudly saying an Englishman should run it, because Stanley Rouse was deeply racist and corrupt. But when you come through to Blatter, I think he's had his time. I think he's got to go. And I would love to see Louis Figo win this election. He won't. And then I'd love to see Platini in charge. He will.
So come the 29th of May, you're pretty much saying it's not even a contestation, really. Like we saw in 2011, do you think you will stand uncontested? Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. It happened last time. He got rid of the lad from Qatar at the last minute, accused him of bribery. He was the guy that gave him the bribe. So how do you work that one out? But remember, and I was going through this last night, quite hard to find these. We've got 56 countries out of the 209, Africa, right? And even Europe have only got 54. And then you come down CONMEBOL, Latin America, massive power in football, only 10 votes. Africa should have more say in global football. I blame Issa Hayato and to an extent other leaders in South Africa staying again too long. I think that we've had far too many dictators in sport in Africa. I honestly think that Africa should have more say in this. And I'd love to have seen an African contender. Why isn't there an African contender here? Because if any continent deserves a better, roll of the dice, despite having the World Cup here, Africa should have more say, because this is where people still play football.
Yeah.
This is where kids still play football with a tennis ball on the edge of the street. In England, France, Germany, they're playing PlayStation and FIFA 2015. It's not the same. I think Africa needs a bigger say, needs at least a candidate like Danny Jordan or Natasha Chiklis standing and saying, look, vote for me.
Let's hope that in future years we will have someone standing up. Mark, maybe your thoughts on the presidential elections of FIFA?
Well, I think whoever tends to win the FIFA vote, one must remember that FIFA as an organization is a non-profit organization. And over the years, they've been able to, with Sepp Blatter's realm, from Brazil, were able to change their laws to bring beer back into the stadiums because Budweiser was one of the sponsors here in South Africa. They forced South Africa to have those criminal courts where within 48 hours people were convicted. Ultimately, whatever comes out of this, more transparency and more fairness from FIFA.
It's too sensible that way.
Let's hope that. Neil, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.